Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and now we're going to look at the baby, or at least the baby so far, of this 6900 series cards. Yes, the cards that everyone has been waiting to see, and this is the HIS 6950. The 6950s, or at least this one, because it's a reference design and at reference clocks, is at 800 megahertz on the core and 5 gigahertz on the memory. There's lots of little features and stuff that I want to talk about, want to show you, but to start off with, I'm just going to take you for a close-up look at the actual card itself earlier on when I had it in the light tent. Right then guys, just a quick one to show you these two cards side by side. They are exactly the same size, and pretty much the only difference is one's got 8 pin and a 6 pin, and one's just got 2 6 pins. Trying to do this all in the light tent. What I'm going to do now is pop the heatsink off of the 6970 so we can get a rude look at it naked. Here we go then, completely naked, all of our clothes off. I'll just run you round slowly. In one of the videos I did before, people always ask why there was a buzzer on the board. Well, basically the buzzer goes off if you haven't got the power connectors in, or not enough power connectors in. So you need both of them fitted for it to not scream at you and work properly. Just turn the board over quickly so you can see the naked back of the PCB. But something that did surprise me when I took it apart is that little thing there, which is part of the heatsink, but it's a vapor chamber heatsink, just like the Nvidia cards, and that is rather, I'd say, a substantial lump of aluminium fin there. And considering this card has the TDP limiter, basically if it hits its thermal TDP it throttles the card. Begs the question, have ATI hit the problems that Nvidia had? Anyway, there's the back plate. It really is just a shield. It doesn't actually cool anything or anything like that really on the back. It's just a shield. But anyway, that is your naked AMD 6970. Right then, so you've had a good look around the card. One of the things that I want to mention, if you look closely in the video earlier, because I did forget to mention it, there is a little dip switch just up here on the card, and basically what that is, it's a BIOS switch. So if you want to flash the BIOS on the card, you have it one way, but the other way is the factory way. So basically if you have a bad BIOS flash, you flick it onto factory, boot into Windows or into your DOS, or do you know what I mean, depends how you decide to do your BIOS flashing. And then when you're in the operating system or in the DOS or whatever like that, you then flick it back to the then dodgy custom profile, and you can reflash it. It's a bit like hot swapping with the old BIOS chips that we used to do back in the day. But there's quite a lot about the card. I mean, they send out a reviewer guide for everything, but do you know what I mean? It supports the 3D technology up to 4 screens. There's lots of good little bits and bobs about it. But at the end of the day, the reason why you are here is to find out if it's any good. And the price comes in at 223 quid, which, when you think about the price of some of the other cards that are about at the moment, the 570, the 480s, the 5970, those kind of things, this is kind of in the, you know, in the mid-range of the prices. It's not as cheap as some, and it's not as expensive as others. So what's it like? Well, out the box, straight into my test rig with a 4 GHz CPU, we were getting 19,800 3D mark on the P-score, and when you overclock the card, I was managing to get about 840, 850 tops. One of the things with the HIS cards is they don't support voltage mods. Obviously you can go about it in the kind of backdoor ways, but in something like Afterburner it doesn't support voltage tweaking. And I was getting about 840, 850 then, and when overclocked it was scoring 20,680, so about roughly 20,500 3D mark points, which at the end of the day it's not a bad score for a couple hundred quid card. Now, one of the things we do need to kind of stress is the ATIs always have fallen behind the Nvidias in benchmarks. It's just the way it goes. The real test with the ATI cards is how they play, and to a point with the picture quality as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some gameplay footage. I'm going to do the Alien vs Predator benchmark. I'll do Crisis Gamer and Enthusiast, and I will do Metro as well, because that brings every game to its knees. I will say now, this card was still fluctuating around the sort of 30 frames per second Metro mark. It really does seem with Metro that that's quite a good kind of stop point with most cards, almost to the point that it's almost like it might be my CPU that's holding it back, only being at 4 GHz or something. But when you kind of bring the Nvidias in, that's the only time I've ever seen those frames per second really go up skyward, and that's just the way that Metro's been coded. But at the end of the day, before we go into the games, we need to talk about my thoughts about the card and my general kind of, you know, thoughts around it really. Well, the 950 is exactly the same size as the 970, and comes, do you know what I mean? It pretty much looks exactly the same, but it does feel to me like the 950 is a speed binned 970, like a 970 that's not quite made the grade and has been binned down. I don't know how this is going to pan out later on, but from what I've seen of them so far, I do feel like these are probably the same cards, and they literally have been speed binned, so they're not going to overclock as well, so they put them in the cheaper sector. But at the end of the day, they do still play games very well, and I know there's people itching out there who are going to be wanting to spend money on a graphics card for Christmas. And to be quite honest with you, for a couple hundred quid, it's probably going to be the best £200 card on the market, because the Nvidias are either significantly cheaper or significantly more expensive. I mean, you're looking at least another £60–70 for a 5970, for a 570, and the 460 is not really going to cut it with the. I will get my words out. With the 6950 dear. I've had too many of these cards today, and my head is completely blown. But they do pitch this against the 470. Which is really, in my eyes, kind of strange, because it's almost like ATI, AMD have pitched these on the 400 series cards, not fully aware that Nvidia were going to be releasing the 5 series cards so quickly. And it is quite a strange one really. But it is a very capable card. But what you need to do is have a look at the benchmarks that I'm going to run and the frames per second, and I'll talk you through bits and bobs in that bit of the video. Right then guys, we're going to do a 3D Mark 11 test briefly. This is just the benchmarks, and this is just it's an optical test really. With 3D Mark 11 being so new, I thought you would like to see the frames per second and stuff that it's capable of. Hopefully if you go into 1080p mode when the video is on YouTube, you will be able to see the frames per second that are at the bottom of the screen. I am still about. At the moment the frames per second at the bottom are, it's going down slowly. It's at 14, 13, it's 12. I'm going to end up sounding like an auctioneer shouting numbers out. Do need to remember though guys that you can see the full review, all the graphs, all the benchmarks and the full written side of the review at Overclock 3D, and I will put the link in the details below as I always do. A lot of people ask me why I don't use fraps to record when I'm doing sections like this or gameplay, and basically the quick answer for that is fraps will reduce the actual frames per second scores, and also if I was using fraps now you wouldn't be able to hear if that fan had spun up at all yet or not. Quite happy just spinning there at the moment. Score there was 5,144 3D Mark 11 points. But without further ado, I'm going to crack straight on with some Alien vs Predator footage. Top left hand corner there guys for the frames per second, currently 50, 49, 50. Right, nearly at the end of this now, guys. There we go. So I'm going to crack straight on now with some crisis footage. Right, to start off with, guys, we've got the frames per second up in this top corner, and this is 0 AA and game settings. This is just to give you a rough idea of what's possible. Lots of explosions, as people have asked for, dipping down to 36 frames per second there. I'm going to quickly stick it onto Enthusiast and 8x AA, which is the maximum that we can do on these cards. Right then, guys, we're on Enthusiast now with 8x AA. Nicely done. Right, without further ado, because I am not the best Crisis player, I'm going to move on to Metro. Right then, guys, on to Metro. Again, a game that I'm absolutely awesome at. No one can ever beat me on Metro. I wish. Anyways, in all seriousness, the 6950, sorry, is a great little card, and it is a very capable game player for 200 quid. As you can see, it's playing Metro here at least 30 frames per second, and dipping down to 25 there, but not stuttering at all. But I can't help but feel that the 6870 was playing quite good as well. And it's almost left me feeling like I was expecting more. So yeah, it's a tough one really. Obviously it is a great card for 200 quid. But yeah, I think there's been so much hype around the 6900 cards, where we thought the 6800 cards were going to be these cards basically. And there's been such a wait, and we've been waiting so long, and so much anticipation and build up, that I think we've all just expected that they were going to be amazing, and I don't think they really have got that wow factor. It doesn't mean that they're not a brilliant card, It's just they're not as great as we thought they were going to be. But anyway, with that bombshell, this is Tiny Tom Logan showing you his very bad gameplay out.